I would have body slammed him if he thought he was going to leave. Because as I
go to court, you want to see the truth come out. Risk because, there's no guarantee that she's going to win, but if she's convincing and has this story.
Stephanie McMahon and Ari Emanuel to be deposed in shareholder lawsuit. Hold on, I know what you're thinking. WWE drama on UK Political Insight? Bear with me for a second because this corporate wrestling match has more lessons about power, control, and dodgy dealings than a decade of Westminster scandals combined. And unlike our politicians, at least these executives admit they're putting on a performance. Picture this. You've got a billionaire who built an empire on scripted fights, fake storylines, and theatrical betrayals, and now he's being accused of, wait for it, manipulating a corporate merger for personal gain. The irony is so thick you could cut it with a folding chair. Vince McMahon, the man who gave us decades of predetermined outcomes in the ring, allegedly predetermined the outcome of a multi-billion-dollar business deal. You genuinely couldn't write this stuff. Well, actually, WWE writers could, but even they'd say it's a bit on the nose. Here's what's happening. Stephanie McMahon, Ari Emanuel, and a parade of executives are about to sit in very uncomfortable chairs and answer very uncomfortable questions about WWE's merger with Endeavor. It's like watching the Avengers assemble, except instead of saving the world, they're trying to save their reputations and possibly their bank accounts. The shareholders are essentially claiming that Vince McMahon turned the sale of WWE into his personal Royal Rumble, where he entered at number 1, eliminated all the competition, and somehow still managed to win despite technically not even being in the match. They're saying he rigged the whole thing to keep his grubby hands on power, which, if you know anything about Vince McMahon, sounds about as surprising as finding out water is wet. Now, let's talk about timing because it's absolutely chef's kiss perfect. Emanuel's getting deposed in December, right when everyone's meant to be spreading holiday cheer. Nothing says Merry Christmas quite like being legally obligated to explain your questionable business dealings. Stephanie McMahon's up on October 24th, which means instead of planning her Halloween costume, she'll be dressing up her answers to avoid incriminating dear old dad. Though let's be honest, after years in the McMahon family, she's probably faced scarier things than lawyers. The fascinating bit is what they're actually after. The lawyers want to know about Vince's grand return to power, why Stephanie mysteriously stepped down right after Daddy came back, and what exactly was being discussed in those board meetings. It's like trying to figure out who wrote which storyline, except this time the plot holes might cost millions. Speaking of plot holes, let's examine this alleged master plan. The shareholders reckon Vince specifically chose Endeavor and Ari Emanuel because he knew they'd let him keep his iron grip on the company. Other buyers apparently would have shown him the door faster than you can say, "You're fired," which ironically was one of his catchphrases. The man who spent decades telling people they were fired allegedly structured an entire corporate merger to avoid hearing those words himself. That's either genius or madness, and with Vince McMahon, it's usually both. They're claiming this unfair process led to an unfair price, which is corporate speak for, we got absolutely shafted and we're not happy about it. When WWE and Endeavor merged to form TKO Group Holdings, shareholders reckon they got less than they deserved because Vince was more interested in keeping his throne than maximizing their returns. The beauty of this whole saga is that it's playing out exactly like a WWE storyline, except the stakes are real and nobody's pulling their punches. You've got family drama with Stephanie potentially testifying about her father's actions. You've got corporate intrigue with executives being questioned about backdoor dealings. You've got allegations of betrayal, manipulation, and power plays. The only thing missing is someone getting thrown through a table, though given how these depositions might go, I wouldn't rule it out entirely. What makes this particularly interesting from a UK perspective is that we're watching American corporate governance at its finest, or perhaps its worst. While we're over here dealing with MPs' expense scandals and the occasional ministerial resignation, the Americans are out there allegedly rigging multi-billion-dollar mergers like it's just another Monday Night Raw script. The parallels to political power plays are impossible to ignore. How many times have we seen politicians maneuver to keep their positions despite mounting pressure? How often do we watch leaders prioritize personal power over public interest? Vince McMahon might have done it with body slams and steel cages, but the playbook's remarkably similar to what we see in Westminster every week. The shareholders are seeking financial damages and other remedies, which in legal terms means they want their money and then some. They're arguing that McMahon and the board breached their fiduciary duties, which is a fancy way of saying they were supposed to look after everyone's money but instead looked after their own interests. It's like hiring a babysitter who eats all your food and lets the kids run wild while they watch Netflix. What's particularly delicious about this whole situation is that WWE spent decades telling us not to try this at home, and now they're being sued for essentially trying corporate gymnastics in the boardroom. The company that made billions from scripted drama is now facing very real, very unscripted legal drama. The depositions are going to be absolutely fascinating. Imagine Stephanie McMahon having to explain family dynamics under oath. Picture Ari Emanuel discussing his communications with Vince while lawyers pick apart every text message and email. Think about corporate executives having to admit what they knew and when they knew it. It's going to be more explosive than any pay-per-view event WWE ever produced. The WWE Endeavor merger might have created TKO Group Holdings, but the real knockout might be coming in the courtroom. These depositions could reveal exactly how the sausage was made, and spoiler alert, it probably wasn't pretty. Look, if you've made it this far, you clearly have a taste for corporate drama that rivals any political scandal. We cover all sorts of power plays, dodgy dealings, and spectacular failures here at UK Political Insight, because let's face it, whether it's Westminster or WWE headquarters, the game's essentially the same, just with different costumes. Hit that subscribe button if you want to keep up with more stories where power, money, and questionable decision-making collide. Ring that notification bell like it owes you money, because we post multiple times a day and you won't want to miss what scandal breaks next. Drop a comment below telling us which deposition you think will be the most explosive. My money's on Stephanie having to explain why she really left right when Daddy came back. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into corporate wrestling, share it with someone who thinks politics is boring. Show them that sometimes reality is stranger and more entertaining than any fiction, scripted or otherwise. Until next time, this is UK Political Insight, where we cover everything from parliamentary procedures to wrestling with the truth. Keep watching, keep questioning, and remember, in corporate boardrooms just like in the wrestling ring, don't believe everything you see, especially when billions are on the line.